From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Affordable housing on the minds of many Montanans these days. Whether buying or renting, the cost continues to go up in the state, but now there's a new effort to address the issue. Representatives from many of the groups that work on affordable housing are preparing to meet with hopes of bringing some solutions to the situation. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has more tonight.
Those who work on housing in Montana say issues with affordability and availability didn't start in 2020, but they're definitely becoming more widespread.
It's been on the rise for a while. You've seen it over the past years in areas like Missoula and Bozeman specifically and Kalispell, but where we hadn't seen it before, we are now seeing it. So we're seeing affordability and inventory issues in Great Falls, in Helena, in Butte.
Katie Biggs with NeighborWorks Montana says the last year brought a squeeze on housing with so many people migrating to the state. But it also brought emergency rental assistance and other relief programs during the COVID pandemic. Those will be among the topics for discussion at the annual Montana Housing Partnership Conference organized by NeighborWorks and Montana Housing. For the second year in a row, the event will be held virtually because of COVID. More than 400 people from across the state are registered to take part in the conference, which aims to bring together housing authorities, developers, and other professionals to talk about options.
We hope folks have new tips, tools, and tricks and innovative ideas to take back to their individual communities so that they can further help provide and create opportunities for homes that Montanans can afford.
Biggs said addressing housing needs in Montana takes partnerships, and those partnerships are going to continue well after this conference.
There's absolutely a big need, but there's always been a need for this work, and now so more than ever.
The Virtual Housing Partnership Conference will be held next Tuesday, May 18th, and Wednesday, May 19th. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Well, a report from the National Low-Income Housing Coalition says Lewis and Clark County has become one of the most expensive areas of the state for housing, with fair market rent for a one-bedroom home now at $782. A few things were different today about the COVID vaccination clinic here in Billings. The line of eager people wrapped around the building, and they got paid to be there. Also, the age of the participant pool dropped. Here's Q2's Andrea Lutz with why some parents have been waiting for this day for months.
As people in Billings flock to the Shrine Auditorium to get those vaccines for 12 to 15-year-olds, some of the first in line today are pediatricians. They say they know how important this vaccine is for kids.
Billings pediatrician Catherine Leisinger already has important information about vaccines at her fingertips.
Being able to be vaccinated is so exciting because we can finally let them be kids.
So when it comes to the Pfizer vaccine, now approved for teens, she and her son Jacob got in line. This year, the family was touched with COVID, like so many others.
How long did you spend in quarantine this year?
Over a month.
Yeah.
As they make their way through the line at the shrine, Catherine signs that consent form, and Jacob is well on his way to getting the shot. And for him, that small pinch only lasted a second.
That's it. You did an awesome job.
As a doctor, Leisinger says children can get very sick from COVID. Nearly 14,000 were hospitalized over the span of last year due to the virus.
The adolescents are the ones that do tend to drive some of the spread, and they are more likely to spread it, and they spend a lot of time together.
So when the parents of her patients have questions...
What I try to explain to families is that with vaccines, this vaccine went through the exact same process of all the vaccines that I give and that I have full confidence of.
In the Pfizer trial, the vaccine for 12 to 15-year-olds was 100% effective in preventing infection. So as a mom, she takes comfort in that.
It's such a relief as a mom, not just as a pediatrician, as a mom, to have him protected. There's always this constant worry.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Thanks, Andrea. And we're told that all the cash was gone by about 3:15 this afternoon. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention now says if you are fully vaccinated, you can shed your mask and stop social distancing in most indoor settings. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says anyone who's fully vaccinated can participate in indoor and outdoor activities, large or small, without wearing a mask or physical distancing. However, there are a few exceptions. The CDC recommends masks still be worn in highly crowded indoor spaces, including schools, healthcare, correctional, and transportation settings. Also, if you're immunocompromised and if you start to feel symptoms, also, of course, if you're not vaccinated, that's another way. We touched bases with Yellowstone County Health Officer John Felton after the news came out today. He tells us this is a huge step forward, but that we have a long ways to go. It's just 40% of Yellowstone County has been vaccinated. He hopes the chance to remove masks and remain safe will motivate people to get their shots.
What's expected is that if you're one of the 40%, then you kind of just got this get out of jail free card. If you're one of the 60%, for the good of your community, those folks still need to be masked when they're out in public.
And Felton says fully vaccinated means you're at least 2 weeks out since your final vaccine. There's still some confusion about who's on the Heights Water District Board. 5 trustees say they're on the board, while 3 who lost the election say they're still in until May 31st. Q2's David J. talked with some of the incoming board.
5 board members had enough for a quorum and held a meeting on Wednesday night after a sign on the door stated it was temporarily postponed.
We were told that they were given notice late in the day that the TRO had come through, and that at that point a decision was made. And we were told that it was made by the acting board chair.
3 newly elected and sworn-in trustees, along with 1 appointed by the city and 1 appointed by the county, say Judge Michael Moses' ruling makes clear they are on the board.
We 5 are currently seated. Nothing changes on May 27th with the 3 elected ones. There's a different interpretation of the statute about who gets to appoint if a county and city appointee resign midterm.
And the board members visited the County Water District of Billings Heights office.
Our number 1 priority is making sure that the Heights Water District ratepayers have water, and that our employees are safe, and that the drinking water is safe.
Absolutely. I felt like I was a board member. Some of the things we asked for, one is make sure they didn't destroy documents. They're not going to do that. So we're going to do that. They recognize that we are going to follow open meeting laws. So we're going to make sure that the agendas are out on time and that we get everything there at the same time. So my impression today was very good.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Well, thanks, David. We contacted the water office and we're told the general manager is on vacation. We've not heard back yet from the assistant manager. Well, hot, dry summers always bring the threat of wildfires in Montana, but there is concern that threat is becoming even worse and lasting longer due to climate change. Today, in a joint memo, Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland and Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack outlined their goals for wildland fire management. They talked about the importance of collaboration with tribes, states, counties, and other organizations. Also about the importance of fire personnel being vaccinated for COVID-19 to maintain critical fire operations. Last year, more than 10.3 million acres burned in the United States, the most on record. This year, with much of the West experiencing drought, fire experts are again predicting above average wildfire potential. All right, turning to the Weather Center and Chris DeRose. Pretty quiet radar right now. Chris, you're saying, but the activity has picked up a bit in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, you know, and if you were outside earlier today like I was, there was a little bit of rain here in Billings and some thunderstorms kind of crisscrossing across our region. Now, we still got thunderstorms out there on the radar. Most of those are up in Canada or along the High Line or down in Yellowstone National Park. But be aware, we are going to see some showers and potentially some thunderstorms tomorrow, though the chances aren't huge. I want to say by 4 p.m., maybe a 40% chance, and then down to a 20% chance by 7 p.m. This is a precipitation, but don't rule out a rumble of thunder or a little bit of lightning even. Temperature-wise, as we go into tomorrow, well, we're going to warm up into the 60s. We might even see some 70s out there. But again, we could be seeing some thunderstorms, so just be aware. I got your full weekend forecast coming up in just a few, so hang tight.
All right, thanks, Chris. A day after being ousted from her leadership role in the GOP House, Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney held a news conference to talk about her priorities moving forward. She says her #1 goal is to help Republicans win Congress and the White House back, and she did not mince words when it came to the current president, Joe Biden, or the former one, Donald Trump.
Across the board, we're seeing really dangerous and misguided policies from the Biden administration. stopping those policies requires that the Republican Party be in a position where we can attract voters back to us. We can look at what happened in 2020 and reach out to the voters who left us in 2020 and convey to them that we are a party based on ideals and beliefs and substance and policy. And that requires that we embrace the Constitution and that we reject the lies that the former president is telling about what happened in 2020.
Cheney says she will work to fight reckless spending and higher taxes. She also expressed her concern about inflation, which she says is threatening the economy. Well, a huge expansion of the state income tax credit that helps private school students is now law in Montana. Governor Greg Gianforte signed House Bill 279 yesterday at a Capitol ceremony. First enacted in 2015, that credit has allowed taxpayers to reduce their annual tax bill by only up to $150 for equivalent donations to something called student scholarship organizations, which give scholarships to students attending private schools. But now the maximum credit for either type of donation will be $200,000 per taxpayer, a 13,000% increase. School choice proponents like Jeff Laszloffli of the Montana Family Foundation has long said an increase was needed to make the scholarship program available to more students and families, but Democrats like Missoula Senator Ellie Boldman universally opposed it.
This is a $200,000 tax credit, not just to individuals, but to corporations. And I don't know about you, but I don't know how many of our fellow Montanans has $200,000